On March the 16th, 1965, in a street in Detroit, Michigan, Mrs. Alice Hers, then 82 years old, a Nazi refugee and a peace-loving Quaker, turned herself into a blazing human torch in protest of the United States war in Vietnam. In her final note accusing Lyndon B. Johnson before the creator of this world, she appealed as follows to the nations of the world and the American people. Awake and take action before it is too late. Yours is the responsibility to decide if this world shall be a good place to live for all human beings in dignity and peace, or if it should blow itself up to oblivion. God is not mocked. Professor Shingo Shibata at Hosei University, Tokyo, who since 1952 had been corresponding with her, was one of those to whom she addressed her final note. He was deeply moved by the depth of her concern and her act of self-sacrifice. This led him to compile a collection of her letters to him, and the book was published under the title Phoenix, Letters for Peace. In Japan, the story of Alice Hers and the book were given a wide publicity throughout Japan. By the royalties on the book, he founded the Peace Fund in memory of Mrs. Hers with the purpose to help the war-stricken Vietnamese people and the ethnic victims of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, because he felt this would be the best way to correspond to the wish of the late Mrs. Hers. This film, which was shown as a document of the United States war crimes in Vietnam in the Bertrand Russell International Tribunal, held in Stockholm from May the 2nd through the 10th, 1967, is presented as a gift by the Alice Hers Peace Fund to the people of other countries, including American people. And we hope that this film will be helpful for your work toward peace. Let us work ever harder to fulfill the last wish of Mrs. Hers, so that there will be no war on the earth but peace.
The atrocities being committed by America against the Vietnamese people have steadily grown worse. Continuous air raids are now going on against the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. At the beginning of 1966, Bertrand Russell, the British philosopher, proposed that an international war crimes tribunal be organized in the name of freedom and social justice and based on international law. The war crimes committed in Vietnam should be judged by the conscience of the world, says Earl Russell. In support of this appeal, a Japanese committee for the investigation of war crimes in Vietnam was established in October the same year. Last December, a team consisting of 7 members was sent to the Democratic Republic of Vietnam from Japan. The team of investigators began their examination of American war crimes in Vietnam, walking by foot and seeing with their own eyes. We arrived in Hanoi on December the 21st, 2 days before the Christmas ceasefire. Mr. Pham Ngoc Tak, chairman of the Committee of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam for the Investigation of War Crimes, and also Minister of Health and Hygiene. Colonel Ha Van Lau, Vice Chairman Pham Von Bach. He is also Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. After making detailed arrangements on objects, methods, and schedule of the investigation, we started our on-the-spot survey, dividing the work between us. We started from Hanoi to the south along Highway number 1, by way of Vinh, Dong Hoi, and Gu Toi. Our team first went down near to the 17th parallel. We then carried on our investigations in Thanh Ho, Nam Dinh, Tai Binh, Hai Phong, Vinh Yên, and the city of Hanoi. We drove more than 2,000 miles, over 27 days, talked directly with more than 200 witnesses, and collected a great variety of material evidence. Bombing by the Americans is mainly on such non-military targets as densely populated districts in villages and cities. The city of Vinh, the capital of the Gyeong province. This is a place of total destruction. Not even the features of this former industrial center can be found. Even the building of the International Control Commission for Supervision of Cessation of Hostilities, established on the Geneva Agreements, was bombed. Churches are no exception. About 1,000 tons of bombs have been dropped here in more than 63 air raids. This was the city of Dong Hoi, the capital of Quang Binh province. This commercial town in central Vietnam, which lies 40 miles from the 17th parallel, has been reduced to rubble. This was a department store. This was a kindergarten. Their targets are only military ones. As you can see, their aim is to destroy our production and wipe us out. This was the city of Dong Hoi. It has been bombed 390 times, continuing until today. It started when the air raids on the north began on February the 7th, 1965. Hanoi, the capital city of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. This is how the residential district and school buildings look now at the central part of the city. This gives the complete lie to the United States administration's claim that they refrain from bombing non-military targets in Hanoi. The facts are evident. The city of Haiphong, this largest commercial city in the delta of the Song Khoi River, has also been systematically destroyed everywhere by raids with missiles and rockets. The city of Nam Dinh. This was the center of the textile industry. It is now virtually in ruins. Only the monument on a street corner shows that workers and their families once were living here. Many educational facilities have been bombed by the United States. More than 120 schools have been destroyed up till now. This is all that remains of a middle school in Truy Dien. One of the schoolboys says, air raids have destroyed all the school buildings. We had sheltered in the dugout below the passage, but were all buried and narrowly escaped death and crept out again. One woman teacher and 12 pupils across the passage were killed. A crippled boy speaks. It was about 9 o'clock in the morning of July the 18th. An air raid began just as I came home from school, and I rushed out of the room in a hurry. Feeling uneasy about my father, I was running to the farm when down came a bomb and I was knocked to the ground. I remember nothing else because I fell unconscious.
ở ngoài đồng, với là bố cháu về, với là cõng cháu đi sang bệnh viện, rồi sang kiểm tra băng xong thì cho cháu sang bệnh viện. Con còn xuống bà con cháu.
The band on this girl's head is a mourning band. She says, before the raids, I used to come home from school very happy with all my folks, father, mother, grandfather, and grandmother. But all 13 of them, including an unborn baby, have been killed. Only I am left. Even little babies are innocent victims of these American air raids. America has systematically attacked hospitals. In Thanh Hoa and to the south, in particular, they have bombed all provincial and prefectural hospitals. This is the site of the former K-71 tuberculosis hospital in Thanh Hoa province. There were some 50 buildings here. All are now destroyed. "30 people, including 5 doctors, were killed and many others wounded. This Dong Hoi hospital was the object of an attack when the city of Dong Hoi was first bombed in 1965. It has been bombed 13 times since then. Raids have continued until now it has ceased to function. This nurse, Miss Huang Thi Li, injured by a bomb while she was preparing for an operation, said, "Americans say that only military targets are bombed. This is a downright lie." About 7:15 on the morning of September the 11th, 1965, there was the droning of a plane in the southwest. Bang went a bomb, and I was knocked down dizzy. What I will never forget is that the doctor tried to continue his operation, although he himself had been badly wounded, so that his innards could almost be seen. Mrs. Lien, one of my fellow nurses, had her head split open and died. 2 children of hers are left orphans. Americans have smashed our happy life. Our indignation is beyond description.
Tối lại những cái lời mà tôi thấy có thể nói, mỗi khi nói đến lại là tôi thấy không làm răng mà quên được. Bên cạnh đó là có cái chị Liên.
Tang, a boy of 14 years, who has lost one of his arms, says, "I was blown over by a bomb blast while waiting for my brother for treatment that day. Coming to myself, I found one of my arms gone, and my brother had been killed there." The hospital building was clearly marked with a large red cross. Its destruction could not have been by mistake. In carrying on their criminal war of mass destruction, America is using supersonic jet planes of the latest type. But above all, they are using the most criminal weapons of extermination, anti-personnel bombs forbidden by international law. We collected and examined different kinds of weapons in the bombed areas. The chemicals used include yellow phosphor, poison gases, herbicides, and defoliators. Mr. Phan Son Thuyen, chairman of the Committee for Investigation of War Crimes of Quang Binh Province, showed that America is making Vietnam a proving ground for their new weapons in this Quang Binh Province, including the demilitarized zone on the 17th parallel. A machine gun ball, the fuse of a napalm bomb, a fuse from a CBU, napalm cinders scraped off the wall of Dong Hoi Hospital. As part of their strategy, US planes dropped transistor radios. On both the case and on its dry cells, the name of Hitachi of Japan can be read. Forged money, pencils, ballpoint pens and erasers were dropped for the same purpose. Tombow, ballpoint pen, made in Japan. Here we see a pineapple bomb manufactured specifically for the extermination of people. It weighs 20 pounds. When dropped, its flanges open and it explodes on touching the ground. On detonation, about 250 small steel pellets are scattered and kill everything within 50 feet. This is the ball bomb, the canister bomb unit, or CBU. It is the latest type. An improvement on the pineapple bomb, more effective for killing and maiming. It weighs about a pound. 300 small steel pellets are in its shell. These kill over a range of 10 meters. The ball explodes on landing. The parent bomb carrying these holds 300 to 600 small bombs. It separates into two pieces while falling, and ball bombs scatter over a wide area covering about 600 feet and 3,000 feet in the direction of flight. The ball bomb cannot destroy military facilities. It is a weapon designed solely for the purpose of mass murder. In the company of the International Investigation Team sent by Bertrand Russell, we listened to the victims of ball bombs in the city of Vignyen. 4 children of Mrs. Vin Ti Hui, who stayed at home, were killed. An iron kettle and a vacuum bottle riddled with steel pellets. This city of Vignyen was the testing ground for the mass use of these ball bombs. The penetration of a steel pellet is enough for a single shot to prove fatal. Although the wound is small, the pellet causes complex injury inside the body. It can be found only by X-ray. It is impossible for mass-produced victims to be treated quickly. This shows the back of a victim who received ball bomb wounds all over his body. Here we see a patient undergoing surgical treatment. The dark dots on these fingers are caused by a CBU bomb. There is no doubt that the ball bomb is a weapon of mass destruction, strictly forbidden by international law. In the rural areas of Vignyen City, we were able to confirm the mass use of ball bombs and their vast spread of destruction. The white marks on the field show where each of the ball bombs fell. Here we see the countless shot holes made by small steel pellets on the farmhouse wall. The Dong Hoi Hospital was attacked 13 times with napalm bombs, forbidden by international law. We confirmed the use of napalm bombs by the cinders on the wall of the hospital, and we brought some of these back with us. Napalm burns with terrific heat of more than 1,000 degrees centigrade, and the death rate from it is very high. Now the even more terrible super napalm is being used. that is, napalm mixed with yellow phosphorus. The poison of yellow phosphorus penetrates the skin and causes deadly functional disorders. These keloid scars of napalm are no different from those suffered by the Hiroshima victims of the United States atom bomb. A victim of napalm in South Vietnam. This man's arm not only has keloids, but is actually welded to his body. The mission of the National Front for Liberation of South Vietnam in Hanoi. Mr. Nguyen Van Thien, head of the mission, talks about the present situation in South Vietnam. American imperialists and their puppet government are guilty of every kind of war crime, such as scorched earth operation, chemical warfare, forced concentration of the inhabitants into so-called strategic hamlets, experiments with new types of death weapons, and so on. Here is the evidence of Miss Chan Thi Lee. She is a victim of American aggression in the South and is now receiving medical treatment in the North. She says, "When I was 18, I was arrested 3 times and cruelly tortured for 3 years for no other reason than that I was for a united election as stipulated in the Geneva Agreements. Finally, I was thrown out as a corpse in the field. Before I went to prison, I weighed 256 pounds, but when I was thrown out, my weight was only 122 pounds. It is now 7 years since then, but both inside and outside of my body, I am covered with injuries. In prison there were some 240 people, only 14 of whom have survived." America has bombed dams, dikes, channels, and other irrigation facilities, and is trying to massacre the people by floods and by destroying agriculture. They are doing saturation bombing of dikes and irrigation facilities in the delta zones, where there is dense population and good crops. Even small canals and water controls used for irrigation have been attacked with rockets. There are no military facilities in the neighborhood of dikes so destroyed. The fact that such raids are carried out during the rainy season confirms the real intentions of the American imperialists. Even farmhouses standing here and there in rice fields have not been excluded from bombing attacks. In this house, a family of parents and a child were killed instantly while sitting at table. The school child of a farmer living in the next house was also killed. Mrs. Chan Thi Hui at the same village tells about her 4 children who were killed before her eyes. "How sad I am. I was robbed of my husband without a single word. My only child left also died in my arms on our way to the hospital. I can still feel him in my arms. I am left alone. But I will never give way. We had built a happy life through a painful struggle. I burn with anger against the Americans who have destroyed this happiness. I will fight till there is not a single American in Vietnam. I hope you will make this cruelty of America known to all the people of the world."
Xin cảm ơn và chào mừng đoàn các bà mẹ và gia đình của chúng tôi là đau khổ thế.
Mrs. Hui gave us a dress which she had treasured in memory of her youngest child. She asked us to present it to Japanese mothers as a memento. This orphan boy named Bong told us that his mother, elder brother, and younger sister were all killed instantly. And then he said, "I want to study hard and train myself, and I will fight the Americans to the last. I hope Japanese boys and girls will also fight, hand in hand with us Vietnamese."
Ngày đêm đương diệt hại những em bé, những học sinh, ngăn những người, những tên.
This is Gutui, formerly a fishing village, lying 13 miles from the 17th parallel. Here, Americans first destroyed all the houses with bombs and napalm. Then, cutting off the retreat of the people, they dropped a great number of anti-personnel pineapple bombs. This was calculated mass murder. In this way, 3 hamlets of Gutui village were completely wiped off the map. We had an interview with an American pilot held as a prisoner of war, Lieutenant Commander Charles N. Tanner from the aircraft carrier Coral Sea, which uses Yokosuka, Japan, as its base. What were the tactics you used in your bombing attacks?
The tactics was to circle the town with fragmentation bombs so as to drive the people into their air raid shelters in the middle of the town. Then as the people went into their air raid shelters, then another pass was made to drop napalm to burn them out of the shelters. As they ran from the shelters out of the town, and then CBU was dropped on the outskirts of town to achieve total annihilation.
Could you distinguish between military and non-military targets?
Yes, we studied reconnaissance. In most cases, you can distinguish between.
Trong phần lớn các trường học thì chúng tôi có thể phân biệt được các cái mục tiêu dân sự và mục tiêu quân sự.
Was that the method used against Fuli? What was your purpose?
Yes, Fudi was attacked for that purpose and that aim to demoralize the people so they would put pressure upon their government to force a compromise at the peace talks.
President Ho Chi Minh of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. Together with the International Investigation Team, we met President Ho. Severely condemning America for its war crimes against the Vietnamese people, Premier Phan Von Dong emphasized that there cannot be peace in Vietnam without independence and unity for the people of all Vietnam. While in Hanoi, we held 2 press interviews. Deputy leader of the group, Mr. Ishijima, speaks. From what I have seen with my own eyes and touched with my own hands, I assert on full responsibility that what the United States administration says is a lie, totally contrary to the facts. Mr. Kugai, a member of the team, says, "My impression and firm conviction is that America is using the Vietnamese people as guinea pigs on whom they are testing their new weapons. Harrison Salisbury of the New York Times, Wilfred Burchett, a famous Australian journalist. The statement issued by the Japanese investigation team says, "These acts by the United States clearly constitute a crime of aggression against the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, a crime against peace and against humanity, the crime of the use of unlawful and inhumane weapons, poison gases and chemical weapons, which are forbidden by international law, the crime of attack on non-military targets and non-combatants," and so on. We earnestly hope that the results of our investigations into these criminal acts will make a contribution to ending America's crimes and to winning a great victory for Vietnam and for independence, freedom, and peace for the Vietnamese people.